Suppose you draw a straight line that connects Los Angeles and Dubai international airports across a typical world map. In that case, you will cross the states of Texas, northern Florida, the Atlantic Ocean, Morocco, the rest of northern Africa, Saudi Arabia, and finally the UAE. Would you suggest that this is the shortest path between these two cities? According to the Mercator projection, the most common display of the world used in books and schools, the straight line is the most direct route between DXB and LAX. However, if you follow the Emirates Daily Flight 216, in that case, it flies in a completely different direction, crossing Seattle, Canada, Greenland, and Norwegian Svalbard, and entering the Eurasian continent across Russia, Kazakhstan, before finally landing in Dubai more than 15 hours later. How is this possible? Are dozens of airlines misunderstanding the shape of our world by over-exceeding flight distances and wasting aviation fuel? Of course not. The reality is that airlines plan their flight connections following the most optimal route between 2 points on a sphere, which is the Great Circle. In the case of Los Angeles and Dubai, it is exactly the path we saw on flight EK216. Interestingly, the farther away two cities are from each other on Earth, the more common it is to fly over the poles to reach the destination. This pattern repeats throughout the Atlantic Ocean, where hundreds of flights cross over Iceland daily. North Atlantic tracks are some of the world's busiest air corridors. These efficiently separate jets from one another, while radar coverage is not guaranteed. North Atlantic tracks already existed at the time of the Concorde. However, due to its high ceiling, the BAC engineering marvel has always been exempted from following these tracks. At that altitude, no other commercial jet's presence could disrupt its route, and bad weather had already come in as a second priority. Instead, the SM and SN tracks were designed exclusively for Concorde. Every year, more than 600,000 commercial flights fly over the North Pole, and the British air navigation service provider NATS expects this number to increase by almost 20% by 2025. However, the story is completely different when looking at the opposite side of the world. As of January 2024, just 4 commercial flights fly close to or above Antarctica: Qantas direct service to Johannesburg and Santiago de Chile from Sydney, and LATAM's nonstop connections from Santiago to Melbourne and Auckland. What are the reasons behind this clear unbalance? This issue can be approached from 2 different scopes: technical and economical. On the technical side, airplanes can fly non-stop to almost all the world's remote corners. The longest-range airliner in service, the Airbus A350-900 ULR, is capable of an extraordinary range of up to 9,700 nautical miles. Its only operator, Singapore Airlines, uses the ULR on flights SQ-22 and SQ-24 to New York. The A350 ULR performs excellently under normal circumstances, but has not yet been tested in complex emergency scenarios. In case of an engine failure, it is thought that it would only manage to fly safely for a little more than 6 hours into a diversion airport. This restriction, known as the ETOPS or ETOP certification, profoundly affects how transoceanic travel has developed to this day. Antarctica's isolation makes it hard to select airports for emergency landings. Of course, the southern continent does count, with a series of airfields that can receive flights from time to time. However, these airfields often consist of just a long strip of ice surface, and with plenty of luck, only a small hangar is available to store equipment or provide housing for people. Locations such as the Troll Airfield, controlled by Norway, or the Williams Field, controlled by the United States and New Zealand, serve mainly as arrival strips for military flights bringing resources to the research facilities in Antarctica, but would not be helpful for an emergency landing of a long-haul aircraft such as the Boeing 787. Troll Airfield has only seen a handful of wide-body arrivals in its history, such as recently the one of a North Atlantic Airways Boeing 787 Dreamliner. In that case, an exceptional situation eased the delivery of crucial equipment to the hundreds of scientists permanently residing in Antarctica. Even in this event, the flight crew had to undergo strict training in case the landing was unsuccessful, and they were also provided with special polar kits to resist the inhuman cold of the South Pole. In addition, the Boeing 787-9 took off from Cape Town with enough fuel to return to South Africa safely in case it was not possible to safely land at the airfield. Therefore, while it is possible in terms of range, not a single commercial airliner can safely fly directly over Antarctica, as it would not be able to divert safely to a nearby airport if an engine fails. On the other hand, if we think about the economic context of South Pole flying, it's not just viable to open more routes. The southern hemisphere, to begin with, consists of just 19% of land, compared to 81% of inhabitable oceans. In addition to this, the population of the whole southern part of the Earth is just around 800 million, which is no more than 12% of the total global population and less than countries such as China and India. All 4 transantarctic flights, currently served by Qantas and LATAM, are operated by the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, one of the airplanes offering the best fuel efficiency and economic performance. The geopolitical and economic demand for connections between Oceania and South America or Africa is, simply put, not enough to justify a strong airline network like the one seen between North America and Asia or Europe. Despite the lack of current demand, some new regular transantarctic flights may be announced in the coming years. While these may not start operating next year, or even before the start of the next decade at least, some pairs of large cities in the southern hemisphere may offer sufficient demand to see airplanes flying non-stop over Antarctica. These may include a second Qantas service from Sydney, this time to Cape Town, South Africa, or more frequencies to Johannesburg from other Australian airports such as Perth or Melbourne. Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, isn't as well connected by any non-stop airlines to either Australia or New Zealand, so this new South American destination may be found in Qantas expansion plans soon after the inauguration of Project Sunrise, which has all the attention of the aviation market today. What other transantarctic routes are you missing on the global map? Have you ever had the chance to view Antarctica from above on an airplane? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below.